Well, good morning, my amazing, amazing friends. Look at you guys showing the love right off the bat. Look at that Cat OG member for 37 months, and you're not getting rid of her. She said she's not going anywhere, fam. Is that a threat or a promise? We love you, Cat. Preschool Granny. She said, my favorite place. Look at that, 35 months. Mine too, baby. Fun to ski. She said, it's only just the beginning. Sounds like the Carpenter song. We've only just begun to live. Sing it for me, just Fun to ski. I almost said just me. Nope, just me said you all are so fetch. Who's got on pink? Who has got on pink? By the way, I saw Diva in here, and her state has been on my news a lot. It looks like the frozen tundra where you're at, Diva. How is it going? I saw True Crime Beat. True Crime Beat said she wants it to be Friday already. I'd remind myself when I saw that what today is, because it's been a crazy week. Well, let's take a second and see our old friend Mike. Then I'm going to do a little self-promotion. You know how it goes on Wednesdays. You all are used to that. But first, let's celebrate Hump Day.
Oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's Hump Day.
Woo-hoo!
It's Hump Day. And Diva said she is over the snow. Just Me said she's sick. You can't be sick. It's your birthday week. By the way, your birthday gift will be there tomorrow, Susan. It certainly will. Don't get excited because you know the kind of shit I send. Well, speaking of, who's got on pink? Because you know the mean girls around here. What do we wear on Wednesdays? Some form of it, some shade. Never gets old. On Wednesdays, we wear pink. Fun to Ski is asking what could be coming to our friend Susan for her birthday. She said, could it be one of those toilet rotators? No, because my girl Susan, who is not tech savvy, would make sure to take a video of her throwing it straight into the Mississippi River. There you go, Sonia Allen, you sexy thing. She has on pink undies under her granny nightgown. Woo! Member for 31 months. Damn, y'all got it going on today. Just Me said, I'm afraid, very afraid. Let's just say, I hope you like it. That's all I'm going to say. Because, you know, we love you a lot. Mary Fletcher. Pew pew? Can't send those in the mail. No, my life would be a lot easier if there's certain things I could get in the mail, you know. Beer would help. You know, a lot of stuff like that. All right, let's take a second and tell everyone hello. And we're going to get to this show because it's horrific. You see, these pieces of shit, and I'm not talking about Riley, I'm talking about the so-called dad and the so-called mom. They put the D in dysfunction. They put the A in abuse. They put the N in nasty. They put a capital D in front of depraved. They are disgusting people. What the hell were they thinking? Like the thumbnail says. Well, I'm going to go to your comments, but first, let's tell everyone happy Hump Day. Woo! Halfway through the week. I'll tell you what I'm waiting for. 100-degree weather, the garden going, zinnias blooming, the pool grilling outside. Because I can't breathe with socks on. No, my friends, I cannot. I cannot handle it. And you know, if you don't wear socks, maybe it's old wives' tale, I don't know. Your nose runs all the time. I'm constantly blowing my nose, sneezing. V. Oakley said, no, not 100. Okay, can we meet, let's say, 92? How about 92? 93. Let's do 93. By the way, did our wonderful members notice that y'all have New Year's badges? Check that scene out. Woo! Check it out. My goodness. All right, let's go to your comments from the last show because y'all had a lot to say and you are pretty pissed about this case, and I don't blame you. Okay, nothing show related, but Carmen said we're getting up to 39 degrees today, LOL, and then that snowstorm is coming through Dallas. I'm worried about our friend Tiffany Crockett because, you know, she got hit by that bus several years ago in Dallas. Because when it freezes hard, and it's moving up into Oklahoma. All right, Bonnie Brown from 5 days ago. The original show we did about little Caleb Collins. She said, you know, I started watching these true crime channels because I thought when these children or adults go missing, I should keep an eye out. I tell my husband about these missing children and the adults too. Sometimes I need to take a step back and take a break from it because it just breaks my heart so bad. I still pray for all of them. And I saw where they're looking for this poor little baby right now in Alabama. What is wrong with these people? How can people hurt their own babies? I think we can all agree with that comment. How? Mia Evans said, I said the same thing about the baby's eyes. Looks like he had 2 black eyes. I'm from Fayette County, and this is horrific and sickening. It's a disgrace to our entire community. Let's look at the picture we are referencing right here. The eyes. The eyes. Few other people weighed in. 10 Toes in the Matrix. What a cool name. She said bilateral bruised eyes are either panda eyes from child SA or it's from a skull fracture. Either way, pure evil was put upon these children. Rest in peace to these 2 beautiful souls. You are safe now. Absolutely. Because you look at that huge, huge knot on his head. Nobody is going to look at that and not say, this baby needs to see a doctor. And I do not believe on his cheek, considering what they're wearing outside, the long sleeves, the jackets, that's a chigger bite or it's a mosquito bite. That looks like someone put a dang cigarette out on him. All right, so here is the breaking news. It came out recently that little Riley, and we've been speculating about this, was she deceased before the car wreck? I still think that the wreck was 100% intentional. 100%. And how Wendy walked away, well, survived. I'll put it that way. She certainly didn't walk away. This wreck, I'll never know. Well, now it has come out that Riley was very much alive before the wreck. Very much alive, and that they have no evidence of prior abuse. Now, I am not here to split hairs with the authorities because it's their investigation for sure. I'm not going to say that I 100% believe that there was no abuse on Riley. Okay? Just not going to. It seems, with what we know, almost impossible. Okay, so they were supposed to, Wendy and her piece of shit dad, the grandpa, the guardian, him and Billy Joe Howell should hook up. They are 2 peas in a pod. Well, they are delaying their hearing. Now, some people say, oh, this is a travesty of justice. You can't do that. You can't do that. It's actually for the best. Fayette County District Attorney Andrew Hamlin is asking that court hearings related to the case of missing toddler Caleb Collins be continued. Caleb's mother, Wendy, and his grandfather, John Bailey, were due in court January 15th. In the court filing, the DA says that the state is in the process of completing the investigative file and asks that the cases be reset to the next available preliminary hearing docket. The judge hasn't ruled on this, but considering they have more investigating to do, I believe the judge will sign off on that. Caleb Collins is presumed dead, and investigators continue to search for his remains. They recently had another search this week and came up with nothing, but they seem to be very honed in on the house. Now, we know that she said he was put into I imagine as like a trash sack and put in the shed. Well, he's been buried somewhere on that property, and that's the reason they're doing these spot digs all over. The judge hasn't ruled, but he will. Court documents reveal that Caleb was a victim of child abuse. Well, that's putting it lightly. Now, this I was not expecting. I certainly wasn't. This is John Bailey. There he is in all his glory. His defense team has subpoenaed, I'll call it CPS because that's more known by people. We know what Child Protective Services are. In Alabama, it's called DHR. So they have put a subpoena out to get these records. Court records reveal defense attorneys for the grandfather of missing toddler Caleb Collins are seeking access to confidential state records surrounding the family and potential child abuse claims. Now, this is where I scratch my head. How is that going to help John Bailey? He's part of the problem. Good morning, Jovi. I just saw you in there. Hey, baby. He's part of the problem. His one job when he got guardianship was to keep the babies away from Stephen Collins and Wendy Bailey. But he obviously did not do that because, well, the kids are dead. But again, I'm scratching my head. Good morning, Elsa. I'm scratching my head. How are these records going to help John Bailey? Hey, I'm all about them being put out. We need more transparency when it comes to what happens to children. I'm tired of people hiding behind these so-called statutes. Statutes aren't laws, they're suggestions. Tired of people hiding behind this saying, well, to protect the minor children, we have to keep that. No, it's a cover-up is what it is. So go ahead and put it out. Now, if what they're trying to do is say CPS messed up, I will probably agree with them. But CPS doesn't live in the home. CPS wasn't in charge of keeping Caleb and Riley away from evil and eviler. No. So to refresh our memory, let's go back to what started this. And it was the wreck because nobody knew or nobody cared that Caleb was missing and now presumed dead.
New tonight from Fayette County, the search for one-year-old Caleb Collins, who's been unaccounted for since his father and two-year-old sister were killed in a car crash last week. The crash left his mother in critical condition. According to a news release from the Fayette County Sheriff's Office, the accident happened on December 8th on County Road 73 near the Glen Allen community.
No snow? No ice on the road? Pretty balmy outside for December 8th. Alabama obviously has their, way down south. No skid marks. Was there even an attempt to brake? But he, at 92 miles an hour, drives right into a tree. Right into a tree.
The 1-year-old's mother, Wendy Bailey, who was also in the car, remains hospitalized in critical condition. The sheriff's office says they were notified about Caleb being unaccounted for the day after the crash. Anyone who has information on his whereabouts is asked to call investigator Brandon Collins at 205-932-3205.
Okay. And regardless of what people are saying, Brandon Collins is not related to the family. You see, the lead investigator cannot be a relative to figure out what's going on. Collins is actually a common name. Yes, hit that like, my friends. Hit that like. Mrs. Italy said, wait, the mom survived? That crash looks horrible. Not only did she survive, now she was in critical condition, Mrs. Italy. They got that bitch all perked up, walking and talking, and then they did this. They put her in jail. She had text messages. She had actual pictures of her son being abused and did nothing about it. She is more than an accomplice for murder. Hello, Amy in Boston. How are you, girlfriend? All right, now we get to John Bailey because they charged him before they charged Wendy. Probably because Wendy was still in critical condition. She's in the hospital. She's being watched. No point in starting the clock. Now remember, this is the dude that was appointed by DHR. CPS is more common term, to keep those babies away from Stephen and Wendy. Well, we know he didn't because Caleb is missing, presumed dead, and Riley was part of the supposedly on accident car wreck.
Sheriff's office still investigating the disappearance of a missing child.
Deputies say this all happened after a car crash on December 8th. Aaron Llewellyn live and local in Fayette County tonight. Still a lot of questions, Aaron, as deputies search for this boy.
Yeah, Brittany, I talked to deputies who tell me that they are still following leads in anyone with information as to what happened to 1-year-old Caleb Rowan Collins. And we know that John Elton Bailey is behind bars tonight after he was arrested last Wednesday for failing to report a missing child.
A child in his care. In his care. We're not talking about a grandpa that's estranged from the family and didn't get invited for Thanksgiving. We're not talking about a situation like that because not all families are real tight, okay? We're talking about somebody that was supposed to have eyes on the babies. And he did not report Caleb missing. He knew damn good and well that Caleb was nowhere to be found.
But there's still a lot of questions that we have, like you said. So we want to figure out what led up to this point. What we know is that the Fayette County Sheriff's Office believes the 1-year-old was last seen on September 4th, but he wasn't reported missing until more than 3 months later. Meantime, deputies were called to the scene of a car crash on December 8th. That crash happened on County Road 73 in the Glen Allen community. Now, investigators say the crash took the lives of the child's father and sister and left his mother in the hospital. Now, the 1-year-old wasn't found at the scene, and it wasn't until the next day when deputies say they were told the adults in the crash had another child they couldn't find. Now, again, Bailey is still behind bars tonight as deputies are still investigating what led up to the 1-year-old's disappearance. And as we get more information into our newsroom, we will continue to keep you updated on air and online. For now, we're live in Fayette County. Aaron Llewellyn, WBTM.
All right, so he's behind bars. Again, I want to know what good it's going to do him when his defense team gets the child protective records unsealed, because he's part of the problem. By the way, this dude isn't even that old. He's in his 40s. I thought I was looking at someone much, much older. The hell's he putting in his tank? Because you can't tell me in this situation with this type of depravity and this type of abuse that substances are not somewhere involved. It hasn't been said. It hasn't been reported. But knock me over with a feather if that's not part of the problem. Well, I know who's not part of the problem, and that is Amy in Boston. If you received a membership from our girl Amy, tell her thank you and get your umbrella. Sal, 80, my girl, where have you been? I've missed you. Said, what the hell? He looks old. Yeah, what the hell's going on there? Well, I mean, look at Wendy. She's only 22 years old. I mean, I don't think he impregnated her mama when he was 50. He looks like he's my daddy's age, and my dad's 75. All right, let's look at the timeline, and then we're going to get to some new stuff. Because I know some people are new to this case. This is from WBRC Fox 6 News. This is the timeline.
Breaking update on the disappearance of 1-year-old Caleb Collins in Fayette County. We learned today that investigators are still looking for his body after saying yesterday that he may have died months ago. Your reporter Taylor Pollock breaks down the timeline.
We're learning from court records that suggest Caleb Collins suffered serious abuse as far back as this summer, though his disappearance was not brought to light until months later.
Okay. The local reporter, that's her O-face, my friends. That's her O-face. Look at that. I just know how to catch them. I don't mean to, but I do. So they're saying months ago, the summertime. However, their request for records as far as child abuse and CPS intervention, the defense team for John Bailey is requesting them from January of 2024 to the car wreck. Now let's think about that. Why are they putting in another, say, 6 months? John Bailey knows something. What's the defense going to be? So the reporter is saying summertime, roughly 6 months ago, the defense, their subpoena is for January of 2024, a year ago. So the entirety of 2024 is what they're saying, how long these children were abused. I can't make it up. It is sickening. Just Me said, interesting, is it not? Big difference in 6 months, and that's a lot of abuse. The entirety of 2024, exactly, Karma.
We warn you, the timeline of events is disturbing.
Court records say it was sometime in July that pictures were sent to Wendy Bailey from Stephen Collins that allegedly show their son hanging from a rope with blood on his body and of him lying on the floor with extreme bruising, followed by the messages, "He won't move," and "I'm so sorry." September 4th.
Okay, so Stephen Collins apologizes to Wendy. Woo, Shonda! She said, I'm late. Happy hump day, friends. How you doing, Shonda? Happy New Year. So he sends a message with an I'm sorry. He has the gall to apologize to Wendy. What about poor little Caleb? And it gets better because Wendy didn't really care. Didn't seem to faze her.
4th is the last confirmed sighting of Caleb, according to Aaliyah's emergency missing child alert. On or around September 29th, according to statements Wendy Bailey gave investigators, Caleb's body was placed in a bag, put in a shed, then ultimately disposed of at an unknown location. Then on November 6th, Stephen Collins makes this alarming Facebook post claiming Caleb is suffering medical issues.
Okay. This tells me a lot when they start putting stuff on social media. Okay, we've talked about it in the Michael Vaughn case with Stacey Wandra, Sarah Wandra. Somebody had to have been asking about Caleb. You know, Thanksgiving's coming up. Christmas is coming up. Hey, Momo, where you been, girlfriend? I missed you. So he puts on Facebook, knowing his son is dead. Knowing his son is dead and has been murdered by him. Our son is not doing well. He is not growing. Dead people don't grow. And has major back issues. That could be a clue. His organs are growing, but not his body. Is that even possible? Anyone know? I'm not a doctor. Do we have a doctor in the house? A nurse? Someone that watches reruns of House? Anyone know? Anyway, organs are growing. He has to have surgery at some point. Keep him in your prayers. Been rough and just seems going to be a long, rough, tough road ahead of us. Well, there's 239 comments, but that's not from people at the time that care. That's for now. Firecracker. Hello, Firecracker. Firecracker said she finally caught a live working shit gets in the way. Woo, we got to talk about that. Glad you're here. What a sick message for Stephen Brad Collins to put up. And the names, Stephen, Brad, that doesn't go together. Wendy Pam.
Issues and will need surgery. On December 8th, Stephen Collins, Wendy Bailey, and their 2-year-old daughter are involved in a deadly wreck. Stephen and his daughter are killed, Bailey hospitalized with serious injuries. Stephen was reportedly going more than 90 miles per hour and driving recklessly, according to a crash report. According to the Fayette County Sheriff's Office, they were made aware the following day, the 9th, that the couple also had 1-year-old Caleb and were not able to immediately locate him. On December 11th, Caleb's grandfather, John Elton Bailey, is arrested for failure to report a missing child. Court records claim Bailey's failure to report, dated September 10th, caused the child to suffer serious harm or death, and that the child was removed from the home and taken to an unknown location.
I want to know more about the unknown location. I really do. He was taken from the home to an unknown location. So where did John Bailey go with the kids, and why did he allow his daughter and son-in-law to be around the kids, knowing why they were taken? Sparrow says at Crime Lines and Lies, the little person from Paradise Island. You mean Fantasy Island? The plane. Okay. You mean Tattoo? Had that issue. Organs kept growing, but his body had stopped. It caused him a lot of pain, poor man. But wasn't he a midget? Didn't he have dwarfism? Yeah, he's a little dude. Yeah, well, Caleb didn't have anything like that. Caleb was killed by his daddy. So when he said, oh, his organs are still growing, but not his body, that was just a flat out lie. But that actually reminds me, I used to love that show. I'm going to see if I can find that on MeTV. Thank you, Sparrow.
Removed from the home and taken to an unknown location. On December 16th, the sheriff's office publicly acknowledges Caleb is missing. Aaliyah issues an emergency missing child alert the following day. As early as December 17th,
is anyone in here from Alabama? Because I know a lot of states, well, pretty much all of them, have their different levels of when a child is missing. Like you have the Amber Alert, you have missing and endangered. You know, there's different, all kinds of, I wish they would centralize it. But anyway, as long as you know in your state. Okay, Carrie, thank you. Carrie's from there. What is an Aaliyah alert? Is that like an Amber Alert? I've read up on Aaliyah's Law, which, by the way, I totally agree with. Ooh, look at that. Michelle's excited. She said, wait, hold up. I got a membership. Thank you to whomever did that. Okay, Carrie doesn't know. Walking Dead. Everybody welcome Walking Dead. She claims to be new here. What the hell? Okay, so it's called an Aaliyah alert.
WBRC learned law enforcement were present at the family's home. The following day, we watched them combing through the area, looking into sheds and searching the property with dogs.
On December 30th, Fayette County authorities say they believe Caleb is dead and has been for some time, and arrest his mother, Wendy Bailey, who faces several charges. We reached out to the district attorney's office for more information. We'll let you know if we hear back.
Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. All right, law and crime. Who, by the way, when I was at CrimeCon, I'm sure you all have heard some of those stories. We'll leave that one alone. I begged them. I chased down old Anjanette Levy and I begged her to cover Michael Vaughn. Well, as of now, nothing. And it's not like I haven't sent out quite a few friendly email reminders. But I am very happy that yesterday they picked up on the case of little Caleb. Because I don't think enough people are talking about it. Well, there can't be enough, considering he's missing and what he went through. However, well, we know what people are talking about. And maybe this case just doesn't do it for him. Maybe it doesn't, I don't know, not enough drama for him. I can't imagine anything being more dramatic. Purple Drink answered for me. Aaliyah is Alabama Law Enforcement Agency. Oh, why the hell did they not just say that? Dadgummit. Thank you, Purple Drink. All right, so let's see what law and crime does.
Leads to an investigation into a missing child and how he disappeared. I go through the graphic details of what detectives say happened in the case of Caleb Collins and his family. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. I want to tell you what you are going to hear about the little boy in this case is so incredibly disturbing. It's heartbreaking. So I just want to warn you. This all started last month when a truck crashed in Winfield, Alabama. A father and his daughter were killed, and the little girl's mother was critically injured. But sheriff's deputies would learn that
Critically injured, but she didn't die. Okay, when I first heard about this, I'm like, that poor baby got ejected out of the car, out of the truck, and they're going to have to find him out in the woods somewhere. But here we are. Here we are. We realize now that that wreck was basically a suicide pact. Don't think old Wendy thought she was going to make it through that wreck and serve any time for what's been going on. They knew they were wrong. They knew it. Now, I have read quite a few comments and stuff, in the news articles. There is a great Facebook group that Chandra put together. Y'all ought to go check it out. Actually, I'll link that in here before I forget, because I will. Where are you? Caleb Collins discussion and updates. Here we go. If you guys want to join this group, there's a lot of information. Anyway, I see a lot of comments, and I love when people put their heads together. And they say, oh, poor Wendy. She was groomed. Wendy was groomed. Now, listen, I don't know that much about psychiatry. I just don't. But what kind of grooming do you have to do for a woman to look away from a picture on her phone of a bruised and bloody baby hanging from a rope? Come on. Jovi gifted 5 Crime Lines and Lies memberships. Girlfriend, thank you. Y'all take care of those, I'm telling you. You don't even realize what you've been gifted. It's Christmas every day around here. I can't get with the excuses. I just can't. She was groomed. She was groomed. I mean, I know it's spoken about in Sebastian's case. Katie was groomed by Seth. Katie was groomed. But that doesn't excuse prior abuse, doesn't excuse present abuse. It's not right in any way at all, but it doesn't excuse it. It's not like she came home and her baby has a bruise and old Stephen Brad says, learning to walk, he fell down. No, he sent her the pictures of what he was doing. Now, what kind of grooming are we talking about? Are we going to use the old Candace Wells excuse that people love to cling on to, that she's just not that smart? I am not buying that one.
That one family member, a 1-year-old boy, was missing. On December 8th, the crash report said that Stephen Collins was driving.
Goodness, look at him. Look at him. I wonder how he's enjoying hell. You know, do you think he was welcomed with open arms by Lucifer and the gang? Or is he still kind of hanging around in purgatory getting ready to find his room? The hot oven.
92 miles per hour when he lost control of the truck and crashed into a tree. Collins was thrown from the truck and died at the hospital, while his 2-year-old daughter, Riley, was also killed because she wasn't strapped into the back seat. The mother, Wendy Pam Bailey, was sitting in the front passenger seat and was critically injured.
Okay, now this is where I'm going to disagree with Anjanette Levy of Law and Crime. He did not lose control of the truck because there is no evidence that he tried to brake. There's no evidence of skid marks, nothing like that. And I still can't get a clear definition as to where was Riley in the truck. Was Wendy holding her? Did they have a back cab? I have no idea. We do know at one point they did have a car seat, but after Caleb was murdered, they put it on Facebook Marketplace for $100 to sell it. Riley could have used it. That tells you a lot. That tells you a lot.
Now, when family members living out of state heard about the crash, they were incredibly concerned because there was no mention of the youngest member of the family, Caleb Collins, who was only 1. Where was Caleb? Deputies started looking, and what deputies found is hard to describe. Late last month, Pam Bailey was arrested and charged with aggravated child abuse, first-degree domestic violence, and abuse of a corpse related to what happened to Caleb. Investigators believe that Caleb is dead and that he has been since July of 2024, and they say his mother did nothing to protect him, to save her baby boy. According to the complaint, she recklessly engaged in conduct which created a grave risk of death to Caleb Rowan Collins after being notified by Stephen Collins via message that he was going to kill Caleb. These photos depict,
again, a text message straight from Stephen Brad Collins to Wendy saying, I'm going to kill this baby. She recklessly engaged in conduct which created a grave risk of death to Caleb. After being notified, he wasn't hiding nothing. After being notified by her man, Stephen, via text message, that he was going to kill Caleb, followed by photographs of Caleb hanging by a rope with a bloodied body. Her response? He just looks wore out and tired and hurt. Hopefully that's all. That's what she said. Let's take a breather for a minute and get our umbrellas because fun to ski. Making it rain, my friends. Look at that. Christmas time in January. Spirit 8. If she knew he was going to crash that car, she needs to be jailed for murder of the daughter as well as the baby's death, in my opinion. Me too. And that could be part of the investigation, which is why they are delaying the prelim hearing on the 15th of this month. I totally agree. Totally agree with you, Spirit 8.
Did Caleb hanging aloft with a rope with blood present on his body and lying supine on the floor with extreme bruising present on his body. Following the photos, Stephen stated, "He won't move. I'm so sorry." To which Pam responded, "He just looks wore out and tired and hurt. Hopefully that's all." Unbelievable. Detectives go on to say that Bailey disposed of Caleb's body. The complaint states the toddler's corpse was treated in a way that outraged ordinary family sensibilities.
Okay, this is a very important statement, by the way they did this. Very important statement. This woman reminds me so much of Jennifer Soto in the Madeline Soto case. We have an update coming on Madeline Soto. And she reminds me a lot of Kayla Montgomery. We have a whole playlist on Harvey Montgomery. That she knows what is happening to a defenseless baby. Well, hell, they're all defenseless. Babies on a totally different scale. But this is what they said. Treating the corpse in a way that outraged ordinary family sensibilities. Wendy Pam Jean Bailey stated that upon the death of Caleb Rowan Collins, his body was placed into a bag and stored in an outside storage building for a brief period prior to final disposal at an unknown location. Could he be in the dump? Because, I mean, they're checking that property. We watched live last week when they were digging everything up.
By placing Caleb's body into a bag and stored it in an outside storage building for a brief period prior to final disposal at an unknown location. Before Pam Bailey was taken into custody, the children's grandfather, John Elton Bailey, was arrested for failure to report a missing child. According to...
Okay, I'll come back to that. And look, I'm not trying to play ageism or pick on anybody. I can pick on him, though. Okay, I can pick on him for obvious reasons. Not knowing anything about the case or how old Wendy is, how old would you say this old boy is? Because I'll be 50 in June. He looks older than me. My husband will be 50 this summer. He damn sure looks older than my husband. I was shocked as shit when I found out his age. He's on that Andrew Hiltz diet, if you know what I mean. Because when I found out how old Andrew Hiltz was, I was like, what? He's in his 30s? That freaks me the hell out. He's only 46.
Family members, he was living at his daughter's home around the same time Caleb was murdered. The criminal complaint mentions that no resident in the home reported physical injuries to the child or that the child was removed from the house and taken to an unknown location. More than a week after the crash, the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency issued an emergency missing child alert. The alert lists September 4th as the last time Caleb was seen, but court documents indicate that the abuse that ended Caleb's life was in July, 3 months earlier. So it's not clear why September was listed on the missing persons poster. And now it's only Pam who could face the consequences of causing the death of her two children since Stephen Collins died in the truck crash.
Look at her with her neck brace on, looking like a deer in headlights. Look at that. And you know, she has ongoing care from the car wreck. I will say she heals pretty good because you have to admit, a car wreck like that, you know she had to have been bruised from head to toe. She healed pretty good. I'll give her that much. But she has ongoing medical. Poor state of Alabama has to take care of that. Yeah. She's not worth it. but they have to.
You know, I've covered a lot of big cases over the years, everything from the Stephen Avery case to Johnny Depp, Alec Murdaugh, and Luigi Mangione. So I know that some outlets can be a little bit slanted. That's why I want to tell you the truth. I want to bring in Marian Bracha. She is a professor of law at Temple University's School of Law and also a former prosecutor. Marian, we were just talking before we started here about how bad the allegations in this case are. I mean, this is a 1-year-old little boy, and the treatment that he received from his father, according to these court documents, is just beyond the pale.
It's abhorrent. It's appalling. I think while trying to retain some sense of objectivity to kind of look at the evidence and look at what needs to be proven.
I agree with Angie, baby. I think you have a great point. She's got that wiry hair, much like Kayla Montgomery had in her first mugshots. That again leads me to believe with the math hair, good call, that some substances were involved. Okay? Not picking on anyone that takes a pill, takes a toke, whatever you're liking. I do have a problem when habits and sex come before the children. Huge problem.
I'm trying to temper some of that with the more perhaps maternal responses that I have to the information in this case. But I think the word to describe how this child was abused and treated is just sheer disgustingly.
It really is. Just the fact, I don't think we need to go over it again. But the allegation is that the father just horrifically abused this. I mean, he's a baby. He's a 1-year-old baby, totally incapable of defending himself, doing anything for himself. And the mother, according to the text messages cited in the documents, was fully aware of what was going on and thought, oh, maybe he's just a little bit hurt, according to what was written. So they cannot find his body. They cannot find Caleb's body. So they believe he was buried somewhere. There have been some local news reports that the sheriff's office and others have been digging up some areas trying to find this poor baby's body. We know that doesn't keep a case from going forward, though. Obviously, they're going to want to have his remains, but they can still move forward with the prosecution without it.
Sure, right. Caleb is presumed deceased, and that is
okay. I love fearless district attorneys. I love them. I love when they go balls to the wall and say, look, we may not have a body, but I know how to tell a jury what happened. They don't need to see a body. They don't need to see an autopsy. I can tell them just with what I have how this went down. I love fearless DAs. If you missed the show yesterday about the nurse in Virginia that was breaking all the baby's bones in the NICU unit, that DA needs to take a page from this DA because he charged that nurse way too lightly, in my opinion. Love fearless DAs. I have a lot of respect for the district attorney in Colorado Springs in the Gannon case. He was not waiting to find Gannon. Yes, he wanted to find Gannon. Yes, absolutely, he wanted a proper burial for Gannon. But as far as justice, he's like, nope. I'm going forward. And by the grace of God, Gannon was found.
That is certainly likely the case. No one has seen him since the summer of 2024. And it only came to light that no one had seen him for weeks when there was the car accident that brought the mother of this baby into contact with authorities. What concerns me most about locating the body, locating any remains of Caleb, is that Fayette County, Alabama is a highly rural area. If you look at it on the map, it is not at all densely populated. The population of the whole county is somewhere less than 17,000 people. If you look at the satellite, at the aerial view of it, it is almost entirely green, meaning it is so rural and covered in undeveloped land that there is a significant area to search for Caleb or any remains that would lead to him. There are some bodies of water in the area, which also concerns me. It's one of the more disturbing details was that his body was just stored in a bag near an outside storage container for a period of time. And
it is very hard terrain where they're at. He could be anywhere. That's why I'm glad that the DA is saying, y'all do your job, I'm going to do mine. I think about the DA with little Quentin Simon. She was basically saying, find me any part of little Quentin in that landfill and I'll move forward. If you can't, I'm still moving forward. Hats off, my friends, because that's how it needs to be done.
And from there, who knows what atrocities were perpetrated against this child when finally mercifully deceased.
You know, Pam Bailey, she is in jail right now. She's facing very serious charges, but her father is also in jail. And he's accused of not reporting, a child being missing. He was apparently living with them. They're not saying anything. I've reached out to the sheriff's office. They have not called me back, trying to get some more information about what's going on here and where they stand in this investigation and where they are in the process. Obviously, the only person who can be charged has been charged. But do you think they are trying to put some pressure on Grandpa here, John Bailey, to possibly tell what he knows, because he apparently was living with them at the time? They obviously probably think that he knows something.
Some states, especially when it comes to the death of a child, I don't mean an accident, I don't mean childhood cancer, you know what I'm talking about. Some states are not real keen on making deals with anyone that could have been a part of, ignored, witnessed, turned a blind eye. And the first thing I thought when they had John Bailey arrested, I'm like, oh, he's going to spill the beans. Looks to me that nobody has approached him saying, I got your get out of jail free card if you tell us more. Seems that they're doing their own investigation. And, I get it.
Right. I think that's probably right. And my question would be, though, what is the extent of his knowledge? If he was living with them and had contact with Caleb, saw that at one point in time, Caleb was a living, breathing child, was occupying the residence with them. And then at some point in time, Caleb was not again seen or heard from. Now, was John Bailey there for the abuse? Was he there to see what was happening to the 15-month-old Caleb? That is a question that might trigger some additional charges. But really the question is, why wouldn't any of the adults in this baby's life do the right thing by him, defend him, nurture him, care for him, even hand him over to the authorities, put him up for adoption if he couldn't be cared for? Why was this child subjected to a life of such grotesque abuse and horror for the short 15 months that he was on this earth? That's really the question.
And it's stunning because obviously Pam Bailey, according to the documents, according to what's alleged, She's innocent until proven guilty. She was aware of what was going on. She was sent photos. She was sent text messages.
Yep. And under the law, she is innocent until proven guilty. On this channel, though, we don't wear a black robe. We don't work for the DA's office. We don't work for corrections. We don't work at the jail. Maybe some of you do, but I mean, on this channel, we don't. So, that's why we have to use goofy words like alleged. He sent her text messages. It's not like she read them and called 911. She responded and said, he looks wore out and hurt. I hope that's it. What mother wouldn't run home and stop at the sporting goods store on the way for a pew-pew or a bat and go home and take care of that their damn selves? Why? People will argue her IQ, and they will argue she was groomed by him. I don't get it. I do not get it.
Photos, she was sent text messages, and it's just beyond belief as a mom that you would be aware of any of that going on and you wouldn't do something.
Certainly, yeah, and I think that's probably why you and I especially are having a hard time talking about this case today, because it just triggers everything that you know in your core and your soul about being a mom, about having some maternal instinct to protect and to care for this young child. Having to put my prosecutor hat on for a moment, though, I'd have to consider what the basis of charges would be. You're absolutely right that there were communications between the father and between the mother, that there was disclosure about the abuse that had happened. There was even disclosure from Stephen Bailey saying that he was going to kill the child. So there was some statement of intent ahead of time. When I consider a conspiracy charge, though, if I were to consider these two...
Ugh. Look at them. Look at them. Now, I know where this woman is going with this. A conspiracy charge, conspiracy to commit murder. I wouldn't be surprised if that's not slapped on her soon. I would not be surprised, because the intent is there. It's not like when we're talking about our kids, we're on the phone and, our kids are being loud and we're like, oh my God, I'm going to kill him. Okay, we know that's not a real threat. Okay, we know that. You don't need to read into crazy stuff like that when someone says, I'm going to pull my hair out. Well, we know they're really not going to pull their hair out. Okay, we got all that. However, she has a picture of a bleeding and bruised baby. That is hers, her son, with a context that says, I'm going to kill him. That's a totally different context. Totally different context. Nicey Marie, you're exactly right. Sounds like Quentin's situation as well. Getting custody by a grandparent, just like Billy Joe Howell, in my opinion. I agree with you. And I'm glad so many of these states are now saying kinship guardianship can't happen anymore, because the grandparents, aunt, uncle, cousin, whoever, turn around and give the kids back to the abusers. They make sure they're at the home for the home visit, but in that 15 minutes, they don't know what's been going on for the rest of the month. It's a horrible, horrible situation. Well, good morning, Poppy Red Mustang. How are you?
Right, that there were communications between the father and between the mother, that there was disclosure about the abuse that had happened. There was even disclosure from Stephen Bailey saying that he was going to kill the child. So there was some statement of intent ahead of time. When I consider a conspiracy charge, though, if I were to consider these two acting in concert, acting together, what would need to be proven to a fact finder would be a meeting of the minds, would be an agreement beforehand to take some substantial step together to accomplish an end. To say that the mother knew that this abuse was happening, unfortunately, in the eyes of the law, doesn't necessarily mean that she participated in the object of that conspiracy. So in order to charge her, I think prosecutors would have to consider how much involvement she had, or if she had any involvement in taking that substantial step.
Rexy is exactly right. She said, I raised my granddaughter. I never left her alone with her mother because you did the right thing. We spoke yesterday about how the whole class gets in trouble for what one kid does. Remember that? Everybody put your head on your desk because one kid acted up. I'm just saying a lot of states are getting to that, where they're just like, we can't keep letting these people do it. So no, Rexy, I'm in no way, shape, or form talking about you. Poppy Red Mustang's getting ready for the snow coming into the Georgia mountains. Yeah, they're going to have snow in Dallas up into southeast Oklahoma. We might get a little bit here, I believe. And just it snowing in Dallas is going to be enough for these Okies around here to clear out the liquor stores, toilet paper, milk, and bread. True story. No way I would go to the grocery store today. No way.
Toward committing the abuse herself. Knowing about it, not doing anything about it, I think prosecutors would have to look at the Alabama statutes to see how far they could interpret the statutes to see if her knowledge and then frankly her neglect of duty as a parent would be enough to rise to the level of a homicide or a murder charge.
Well, she was.
Okay, I agree with her. And so the fact being that they are delaying the preliminary hearing for the 15th, and they said because they have some other investigation to do, I think it's going to get worse than what she is charged with now. Aggravated child abuse, abuse of a corpse, domestic violence first, assault, family strong arm. I have a feeling they're going to start pinning on, well, I shouldn't say pin on because she facilitated this murder, is how it appears. She facilitated it. So between now and the preliminary hearing, I don't know when it's going to be. I have a feeling there's going to be new charges. They already upped her bond again. So instead of 1.9 million, it might have been 1.8. Now it's an even 2 mil. 2 mil for you, Wendy Pam. 2 mil. And nobody in that family is going to come up with that. No. But now under Aaliyah's law in Alabama, and this is what I thought was going to happen January 15th, they could revoke the bond altogether. Because let me tell you what, there's a lot of nutcases out on the internet, and somebody could raise the money. Because it's not cash. It's actually a bail, which would be 10%. They don't have no 200,000. No.
Arrested last week or, arrested on charges, put in jail last week. The case will likely go to a grand jury, so the investigation is still underway. We will have to wait and see what comes of it. Marian Bracha, thank you so much as always.
All right. They actually did pretty good on that one. I really liked their guest. We haven't done this in quite a while. You guys want to do an off-topic discussion real quick? Put a 1 in chat for yes. Let's take a break from this and do an off topic. Or put a 2 in saying, nah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just roll the dice and say, you're probably going to go for an off topic because this came on my news and I want to know what you all would do.
This delivery driver had a bathroom emergency and begged the customer. This delivery driver.
All right, the people have spoken. Speaking of, I had a poll up yesterday asking everyone like what they wanted to talk about today. And most people said Sebastian, and I was 100% prepared for that, but it seems like something's going to be coming out today. So I planned on doing it tomorrow, and I didn't really want to do 2 shows in a row about Sebastian. So we went with Caleb. All right. How many of you use the DoorDash service? You know, we don't want to cook. We don't want to get out. We don't want to go through the drive-thru. You hit the app, send over some cheeseburgers, bring us some pizzas, however you want to do it, whatever. This DoorDash driver comes to the door, wants to come in the house and take a shit. When he was told no by the mom, he tried to get in. No. People are giving this woman hell. They're like, how could she do that to him? Listen, she's got kids at home. It's just her. How do you know what he's capable of? Dude, go to the gas station. I don't care if you got a turtle head sticking out of your ass or not. Go to the gas station. All right, listen to this. I would say no, but I want to know what you all would say. Uh-oh, Poppy Red Mustang hadn't even seen it. She goes, holy shit. No, but no. No. Turtlehead can get to the gas station.
Driver had a bathroom emergency and begged the customer to let him use the restroom, but after being denied, he barged into her home.
Hi, I have diarrhea. Please let me use your bathroom, please.
Okay, I'm going to go back to this. Oh my gosh, I have diarrhea. I've got diarrhea. One, I probably wouldn't eat the food after that. Because who knows if the dude's got C. diff or some shit like that. No pun intended. I've got diarrhea. I've got to come in. Ew. You can take that explosive ass down to the Phillips 66, get the key, go around back, and you can let it rip there. No.
This delivery driver had a bathroom emergency and begged the customer to let him use the restroom, but after being denied, he barged into her home.
Hi, I have diarrhea. Please let me use your bathroom, please. I can't. I'm going to myself.
Please get out of my house.
I'm going to.
I'm gonna
Please. I'm begging
Get
you.
out of my house.
I can't stop.
This delivery driver had a bathroom emergency and begged the customer to let him use the restroom, but
He said, I can't stop. And he's trying to get in the house. She's like, I will call the police. No. Sorry you got to poop. Sorry you have diarrhea. But, I mean, what are you doing door dashing with the shits? Come on. How many gas stations have you passed? They sell Imodium there, dude. You don't need to come in my house. Nuh-uh. I wouldn't even want the damn food. With her luck, she ordered Taco Bell. He's the type of dude that's been stealing fries all the way. He's wasting his time, and she felt threatened. But here we have people that are saying she's callous and she's cold. He could be an RSO. He doesn't seem to be in a big hurry to drop off the food. And what's really odd is the woman said, no contact, as in, leave my food, and I'll open the door. Instead, he starts knocking on the door. Let me in! I've got diarrhea!
this delivery driver had a bathroom emergency and begged the customer to let him use the restroom, but after being denied, he barged into her home.
Hi, I have diarrhea. Please let me use your bathroom, please. I can't. I'm going to myself.
Please get out of my house.
I'm going to.
I'm gonna
Please.
call the police.
I'm begging
Get
you.
out of my house.
I can't stop.
This delivery driver had a bathroom emergency and begged the customer to let him use the restroom.
Okay, now he supposedly has diarrhea, but look at the end. Okay, look at the end, not his ass, but look. He's not in a hurry to get back to his car. You would think with the explosive diarrhea, he'd be running to the car.
Restroom, but after being denied, he barged into her home.
Hi, I have diarrhea. Please let me use your bathroom. Please, please, please. I can't. I'm going to myself.
Please get out of my house.
I'm going to. I'm going to.
I'm gonna
Please.
call the police.
I'm begging
Get
you.
out of my house.
I can't stop.
This delivery driver had a
And he just walks away. That's it. You got to go that bad, dude? Oh, please, I have diarrhea. I'm going to shit myself. I'm going to shit myself. Yeah, you know where that food would have went? I wouldn't have fed it to the dogs. No way. I have a feeling old boy don't have a door dashing job now. No way. All he had to do was set the food down and take his foul ass down to the Phillips 66 and go poo-poo there. He did not need to bother that woman. Who could even eat after that? You got somebody with the shits trying to get in your house? That would ruin my appetite. Hate to say it. All right, you all. Well, this has been a great show. Thank you for being here for Caleb Collins, because I am beyond curious as to what is going to happen in this case. Certainly raised my eyebrows when they put off the preliminary, upped her bond. I have a feeling old girl's about to see some big M charges soon. Michelle said, was he planning on cleaning her toilet after he defiled it? Good point. Good point. Could you imagine the streaks in that toilet? Makes me so mad when I see that. I raised 3 boys. I refused to clean the bathroom because I'm a sure shot and I know how to clean things. Kimberly said she probably saved her own life. I agree. I'd have been like, no way, buddy. No way. And DoorDash, they'd have been DoorDashing for free for me for at least a good month. All right, you guys have a great rest of your hump day. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your opinions. And just being the super, super cool people that you are. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. I believe we're going to be doing a show about Sebastian. Wish me luck. You know how that goes. In the meantime, stay safe, stay warm, and if you're in Oklahoma, watch those liquor stores and grocery stores. Love you lots. See you tomorrow.